Right, so anyone who knows me knows I'm a massive fan of Trevor Nelson. And I have been since I was, 10 years old.
Wow.
I'm not going to tell you
It's
what
all right.
year that is.
It's fine.
So, yeah, my brother first introduced me to you on Kiss.
Wow.
Yeah, I had an older brother. He was 8 years older than me. So,
Wow.
yeah, he was very much into you at the time. So, can you tell us what led you into being, like, your career as a DJ?
For a start, I didn't want to be a DJ. I actually wrote album notes for my new compilation out, and I said the first gig I ever did was my school disco, and that was because I was just too shy to ask girls to dance. So I thought the best place to be is behind the decks, and I'd never played a tune to more than one person in my life, and I just liked it. I just saw people dancing, and it was, when you're young and you've only got a few tunes, all you want to do is share your taste with other people. You want to say, "Oh, have you got this album? This is great." And I was a bit like that. I used to just try and persuade people to buy Earth, Wind and Fire albums, or things. I was just really geeky and quite and just enthusiastic about music. It wasn't. I did not want to be a DJ. That was not my reason. But I bought so much music. I got so obsessed that I started making tapes for people, just like little mixtapes for people, and I just loved doing it. And then I started hosting my own parties, illegal parties, and honestly, it was very organic. It was very organic.
So one of the main reasons wasn't to get girls then?
It wasn't. No, and the funny thing about getting girls, I never ever. I didn't look at clubbing as a boy meet girl scenario. I looked at clubbing purely to come and hear music, because music wasn't really. You couldn't get it like you do today. You couldn't get it on the internet. You couldn't get it. There weren't stations 24 hours playing our music. It was one show a week you could hear. And so it was much more special, So I only went to clubs for the music. I never went, for what a lot of people do, to get drunk or check girls. It was never that for me. It was dancing and music.
Cool. I've not heard that one before.
It's absolutely true.
You also had a stint working in A&R. Can you tell the Flavourmag audience a bit about your time at EMI and what it was like representing the likes of Misha Paris and Lyndon David Hall?
Again, I didn't like record companies. I didn't really. I felt we were underrepresented in terms of not staff so much, but there were lots of records I had to buy on import that never got released in the UK, and I thought should have been released. So I just was a bit suspicious of record companies. I didn't actually have a job when I joined EMI. They phoned me up out of the blue. I mean, I did a show a week on Kiss.
Yeah. I
wasn't doing daytime radio anymore. I was off daytime. I wasn't really into it. I was doing one show a week. I got a phone call from EMI saying, "Come and meet the head of A&R." I didn't even know how she got my number. I went to meet him. I turned him down, and I sort of went home. And people presumed that I went for a job that I didn't get, but I didn't. And other labels wanted me or invited me up for interviews, and I was like, okay. So I chose what I thought was an independent label at the time, showing how naive I was. I chose Cool Tempo. And it wasn't an A&R position, it was club promotions, because I wanted to start at the bottom and learn it. And little did I know Cool Tempo was owned indirectly by EMI. So I ended up working for the same guy who I turned down a year or so before. So that was it. But I ended up running the label at one point, record company shenanigans. They sacked my bosses and stuff and kept me. And it was hard. I loved the music, but trying to break R&B in the UK in the early 90s was nigh on impossible. But it was a pleasure to work with. I discovered Lyndon. It was a great experience making that album with him. Going to New York a few times, developing him. We got the album to gold, which was a big deal then. And then, we'd signed Misha Paris, and that was another experience altogether. She was a proper diva, great singer, all that stuff. But again, made an album with her, and had the opportunity to A&R for D'Angelo in the UK, which again was a battle. It was a battle because he was so good that he wasn't commercial, and it was hard to get radio play. But my time there was pure, apart from the politics, I enjoyed, but I didn't like the politics of the music industry at all. And to be fair, I couldn't wait to get away from it all.
Yeah, I can understand that. I've worked at a few labels myself, and I just want to get out. I just wanted to get out of there because of the politics.
There's also too many people in those days. I wouldn't say so much now, who are there for a jolly and there to spend a credit card and take people out and go out and rave and be seen. And I wasn't one of them. I wanted my door shut, and I wanted to be left alone and make music. You know, it was very hard. Major.
Imagine. Obviously, I work in music myself. I won't go into that, but can you imagine you've encountered quite a few divas in your time? Do you want to name and shame any of them?
It's not really clever to name and shame people in this business because what goes around comes around. But there are. I mean, I've met loads of divas more like in terms of interviewing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got like you name them, I've met them.
Who was the worst person to interview?
I never really did a bad interview, but the most nervous I was ever was when I interviewed Whitney. Because Whitney knows Whitney knew how to control me to a degree, to a degree.
Yeah.
She answered questions in her own time. She was very much, but she was polite. She, I can't say I ever had to succumb to diva behaviour. The key to interviews is giving them a bit of room, give them a bit of space, and tap into them when you think they're cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so sometimes I would ask questions that weren't, if they were pre-recorded interviews, I'd ask questions that I knew I weren't going to involve, include in the interview, just to warm them up. Yeah. And then when they're comfortable, just start asking them what you want to ask them.
Okay. So I'll take a few tips on that myself.
That's a good way of doing it.
In 1998, it saw you move into television, presenting The Lick on MTV.
Yeah.
Who convinced you had a face for TV?
Not me. I honestly, and this is God's honest truth, I always thought MTV was about models or really gorgeous people doing telly. In a way, I thought MTV was more style over substance. So I wasn't sure it was right for me, but I always complained that there wasn't enough of what we like, the music I like on telly. I always complained that. And when I was in the industry, I used to complain that where am I going to put my artist on telly? There was no opportunity. There was a chart show. If you got your video on the chart show, and if they were very poppy, you could get on top of the pops or something like that. But there weren't really, unless you were mainstream, there was no outlets for specialist black music on telly at the time, unless their video was on rotation on the box, which people paid to see a video. And, that's not really going to happen. So when I got my chance, I went on MTV. They called me again. I got a phone call saying MTV are interested in you, and I'm like, I've never done telly before. How do I know? But there was a few people at MTV who listened to my radio shows and stuff, and obviously, I don't know, they probably thought I could do it. So I got there and I thought, who's going to teach me how to do telly? And there was no one to teach me. I said to them, who's going to show me? Yeah, I got thrown in at the deep end. So what I kind of said, because I didn't practice looking at myself in the mirror and going, hey, I should be on telly. But I decided, if you remember the very early days of The Lick, the camera was never on my face for long. We came up with something where the camera moved off my face and I was still talking. And it went onto a shirt or something random. Yeah. We hung shirts up and we put little bits of jewelry down. Just random shit and along the sofa, because I wanted people to listen to what I was saying. I didn't want them to look at me and say, oh, look what he's wearing. Like a lot of other MTV presenters. And I didn't want to be standing up. Yeah. Most MTV presenters stood up. And I didn't want to be called a VJ. So I kind of stumbled on something that became quite... Because it was important, I think, that people learnt more the history of our music. Yeah. And it worked. People were intrigued, and I think it worked, and I think it deflected a bit off me, and it took the pressure off me. We filmed really dark. Yeah. The first couple of series of The Lick, the lighting was so low. You wouldn't dream of doing that on telly now. It'd be much more lighting, flattering lighting. It was really dark. I looked really dark, and but I did present properly. I didn't speak slang. I didn't come over as your stereotype. I wanted to be taken seriously. To be honest, my inspiration for presenting on telly was a guy called Barry Norman on the film shows. He used to do the film shows, and I used to watch him all the time, and I was intrigued how he used to write and present the film show. And I wanted to be like him. So he was actually, no, seriously, he was actually a massive inspiration for me. And I settled in very quickly, and I was very comfortable because the crew were great. The crew were just like family to me. So it was really a comfortable environment, and there was no studio audience. So it was just like, That
seemed to spiral your career at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I knew people in this country who had MTV, who liked our music, would definitely tune in because there's no show like it. So, and my thing was, okay, how are we going to drum up interest? I said to MTV, how are we going to are we going to put billboards up saying I'm doing this show? I said, no. So how are you going to promote it on the channel? And I'm thinking, but people who like my music aren't watching this channel. Yeah. So I came up with, let's do some parties. Let's get flyers out there. Let's, on the flyers, put the show times and at the same time do parties, because that was my history, club DJing and stuff. So that's what we did. And it ended up in 43 countries around the world, which was crazy. Really crazy. But you know what? Getting emails from New Zealand, Croatia, Africa was a complete buzz for me, you know, that they were all feeling it. So it was great.
I can't carry on this interview without mentioning your bald head.
Yes.
So it's obviously your trademark look. So did your afro make you look that bad? Is it actually a vanity thing, or is it something else?
Two things happened when I shaved my head first. I didn't like my hair. It wasn't very great. It wasn't what you call. I'm not knocking black hair. I'm just knocking my hair. It wasn't the best hair, traditionally in my family we all end up with a sort of widow's peak sort of hairstyle. Yeah. You know, sort of receding at the front from a very young age. And I noticed at the time, Michael Jordan and R. Kelly were the two people who had black guys who had bald heads. Yeah. And I liked them. And they were dark like me. And, and I thought, I'm going to try and shave my head. And also, I had a really sort of bad situation in my personal life. And I just wanted, I don't know why, I just wanted to, I split up with my missus and I just, and I tried it. And I thought I'd get a lot of stick from my friends. And instead of giving me stick, they said, it really suits you.
So and you got stuck with it.
Well, from that time, no, you know what? I just said, I used to be called the Mad Hatter, you have to understand, on Kiss. Yeah. I always used to be known for wearing hats. That's not why I was called the Mad Hatter, but my sound system was called Mad Hatters. And so Jazzy B once said to me, I'm a funky dread, I've got dreadlocks. You're Mad Hatter, but why aren't you wearing hats all the time? I said, well, I didn't really name my sound system Mad Hatters for that reason, but then I took it on and I just started wearing hats. So it was a chance to sort of get rid of the old Trevor Mad Hatter and become sort of Trevor Nelson. Yeah. Yeah.
What was the most memorable part of your career to date? Or the proudest? Or both?
Getting inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame, which happened this year. And
it's later on in my questions as well.
that's probably, I got an MBE for voluntary work. It wasn't for music, but but getting inducted, for someone who didn't want to be a DJ necessarily and just learnt radio the way I learnt it myself. I didn't go to school for it or study it. That's probably quite a big thing for me, because when you're dead and gone, a lot of people can forget you, but they can't say that out.
Yeah.
So that's, and I'm getting inducted at the same time as Nikki Campbell, Vanessa Feltz, people like that, who are pretty much household names. Yeah. And a guy called Barry Cryer, who's a bit of a legend as well. So that's probably it.
I thought you was already inducted to it, to be quite honest.
No, I've got a career, a Sony Gold career achievement, which was another one that I liked. But yeah, I mean, I'm all about longevity, so that was really important to me.
This month sees the release of yet another compilation album from yourself, Trevor Nelson Collection 3. You took a break from releasing a compilation for a while. Why did you take that break?
Well, I mean, compilations back then were just part of the game. They started becoming the big thing. And they started becoming the big thing to do. Everyone, lots of DJs, house DJs did loads of compilations. Yeah. And when I was doing The Lick and Rhythm Nation on Radio 1, I got offered the chance to put some music together and do compilations, and some I really, really liked. Others I didn't as much because record companies put a few fillers on there. Yeah. But my favourite compilation back then was one called Soul Nation, which was part of a documentary series where every track meant something to me, and the other one was probably the Incredible Sound one I did, which was at the time a really good one. So the only reason
I've got all of them.
well, the only reason I got back to doing them, I had an 8-year break, and I had no interest in doing them anymore because I thought there were too many out there. I thought there were just so many comps out there. I think the downside of doing national shows is that everybody knows the music and compilers. Yeah. It's easier for them to compile albums, and some of them I just didn't think were very good. But someone asked me, why don't you get involved again? And I said, because at the time I was on 3 radio stations, on Radio 1, Radio 2, 1 Extra. Yeah. So they said, you're the only DJ in the country who's on 3 stations, national stations. You could do something that, and I figured, let's do one CD that's 80s type, late 70s, 80s, one that's more 90s, and one that's more noughties to the present day. And I don't see why that can't work, because whenever I DJ, you know, I'm one of the few DJs that definitely wants to go over 3 decades. I'm bored if I don't dip in and select. I'm from a selector school of old school selecting, you know. If I want to play Ray Charles, I've got a woman, and I want to play James Brown or something like that, I'd play him in the same gig with Drake or Lil Wayne. Why not? And
your reaction's always great. I've been to a couple of your gigs as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nurture a crowd, you know, over the years. People get to know what you're about, and you don't let the crowd totally dictate to you, and eventually you get an identity, you know. And I think people know if they come out to one of my nights, you're going to get the odd tune at, whoa, you know, where did that come from? You know, rather than all the top 40 all night. It's just too boring to do that.
Is there going to be a Trevor Nelson collection 4? Are you going to keep going, or this is it?
Well, the whole deal with this label was just maximum 3 albums. It was, the idea was do one. I think they expected it maybe to do 60,000. That would have been the result, and I would have been happy with that. It became the biggest selling compilation in the whole country for any music apart from Now. So it was #1, and it did platinum. I mean, I'm humbled. It was amazing. I think the whole scene was a bit wow. You know, and it just goes to show how much people miss that music. They miss it. They miss it. It's not a joke. No. It's not just a little gimmicky. They miss the music. I DJ all over the country, and I know when I play those tunes, everybody loves them. And I'm thinking, okay. So I kind of knew what to put on those albums. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. My feeling is, deep down, I'd love to do an proper old school soul album, like just proper 70s soul, like I do on Radio 2, a lot of that stuff, and deeper. But the pressure is they won't TV advertise some albums if the music's too specialist. Doesn't make sense being on telly. So we'll see. No, we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, last year saw you take up residency in Camden's famous jazz cafe, and you're doing constant gigs around the country all the time. Do you feel it's ever time to hang up your headphones?
To be honest, when I shaved my head all those years ago, I thought it was time to hang up my headphones. I'd been DJing for 10 years already, and I didn't understand DJing. I didn't understand how long you do it for. I thought it was a young person's thing totally. But over the years, all my peers have gone on, and they're older than me, and they're still going. Norman J, Jazzy B, Pete Tong, Westwood, all of these people have gone on, and they're older than me. And I'm like, and I feel as long as you're relevant, and you know, I'll be the first person to step off if I want it. You know, trust me. Yeah. I don't like leaving my home, traveling in the motorway, staying in a hotel. I don't like it. Yeah. I like the gig. I don't like all the things around it. So, you know, I'm a reluctant DJ. I still turn down most offers. Yeah. You know, but I do what I like, what I think's good. So Jazz Cafe, the idea of that was I hadn't been doing a London residency since Leicester Square. Over 10 years ago, I hadn't done anything regular in London. I did New Year's Eve. Yeah. It's the only thing I always did. I always tried to do a New Year's Eve party. So I thought, loads of my friends have DJed Jazz Cafe. I've never DJed, done a residency. Fitzroy, the Buzzboy, Jazzy, loads of people. I think Norman even or someone. And I thought, this perfect place to get the right crowd. We'll mail it out on the Jazz Cafe mailing list as well, because loads of people come there for great gigs. Yeah. And I really enjoy it. I don't think I could have a better crowd for that, you know, because I want to continually meet new people. I want to see new faces. You know, I don't want to just play to the same old face. I like seeing young people mixing with old people. It's a bit of a weird turn on for me, because they both, you know, seeing 3 generations of people in the same club is unique. Yeah. So it's great.
So I'm glad you're not going to retire anytime soon.
Not yet. I'm enjoying it too much to retire. Yeah. That's the thing.
Cool. Okay, so lastly, can you provide any words of wisdom to any upcoming budding Trevor Nelsons out there?
It's bloody hard. A lot of people ask me that. The only problem is it's a different situation for everybody. It's a different situation. You're interviewing me from magazine. I've done interviews for magazines before. I've done interviews for radio, telly. It's all different. Yeah. There are basic techniques to interviewing, but you have to learn them yourself. You have to be your own. I would say the biggest key I'd say is if you're your own worst critic, you'll be fine. Yeah. Because you can have managers, agents, you can have producers. If you can't judge for yourself when you screw up or when you're good, you won't last. Yeah. You know, and know your capabilities and don't ever put yourself in a situation where you're going to let yourself down most of the time. I mean, like we have all sorts of DJs, we have all sorts of presenters. We have presenters who want to make you laugh, shout a lot, some try and play it really cool. Everyone's different. Get your lane, stick to it, and people believe in you a lot more. Yeah. You know, I am what I am. If I started talking a different way on radio, some people wouldn't believe in me anymore. Yeah. You know, as a DJ, when I play out, I like to hear the song. Some DJs want to play the song for 1 minute and show off how brilliant they're mixing or scratching. Yeah. That's great for some people, but I don't think my crowd appreciate that. So, you know, it's all about playing your lane, getting, you know, and people know what you're about. They'll go with you or they won't. Yeah. And that's the key thing. I mean, I think everybody can do radio. Trust me, everybody can do radio given a chance. Well, as long as they can speak. As long as they can speak. Yeah. And they're passionate about music and put into words what the music is in their own words. Anyone can do it, but it's about being able to transfer your enthusiasm into coherent broadcasting. Yeah. Like I do radio every day, literally, and I'm not heavily serious about it on daytime. I have fun with it. I don't, but occasionally I'll say stuff that's meaningful. So I have features for that. Yeah. You know, I do features like Album for Life where it reminds me of me doing the licks. I go in a little bit on the person's career, not massively, but a little bit. I play an album and I play a track, and it has relevance to me, you know, and that's all I can say. You just got to be honest. Some people aren't cut out for it, and you have to be honest. Am I cut out for this? Can I do this? The easy thing about club DJing is when you're brave enough to put your name down, you know, on the flyer as the DJ, and then you go out and ask people to come. This is before anyone knew who I was. Yeah. And you do that, and you're willing to play to 30 people. The first gig I did had 30 people in there, and I knew 25 of them because they hadn't paid. They're my friends. And it was in a club that held 500 people. Yeah. And, you know, it didn't stop me. Yeah. I liked the fact that 30 people were dancing. I made 30 of those people dancing, all of them. And that's all that matters. Grow a little amount. Grow, be consistent. And today, you know, I can sell out where most places I play, so it's great.
Okay, well, that's it. Well, thank you very much for talking to me.
Wow.